Imagine living under a ruler who declares himself a demigod and demands absolute obedience. What would it feel like to be ruled by such a tyrant? In 221 BCE, King Zheng of Qin did just that. He proclaimed himself Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. In a single decade, he forged the warring kingdoms into one empire with ruthless efficiency. He standardized the written script, currency, and even the width of wagon axles to unite his realm. But Qin Shi Huang's reign was steeped in blood. Books were burned and dissenters executed on a whim. What drove this boy king to such extremes? In this video, we will uncover the extraordinary life and terrifying deeds of Qin Shi Huang, exploring his monumental achievements and the cruel terror he unleashed. Before moving on to the video, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out other videos. Qin Shi Huang was born Zhao Zheng around 259 BCE in the Qin state of northwestern China. He ascended the throne of Qin at age 13 in 246 BCE, and even as a young king he showed a ruthless streak. For example, he had his court enemies killed to secure his power. Over the next 2 decades, Zheng waged relentless wars against the neighboring kingdoms. By 221 BC, he had eliminated the 6 other warring states, ending a century of fragmentation. In triumph, he took the title Qin Shi Huang, first sovereign emperor, and declared his new Qin Dynasty would last 10,000 generations. As emperor, Qin Shi Huang immediately set about reshaping China with sweeping reforms. He abolished the old feudal system and replaced it with a centralized bureaucracy. Aristocratic nobles were stripped of independent power and forced to live in the new capital, where the emperor could watch them closely. The empire was divided into provinces run by appointed officials. Even mundane aspects of life were standardized. A single currency was issued, weights and measures were made uniform, and the written script was unified across the realm. To defend his empire, he also ordered existing northern fortifications connected into a single great wall against nomadic invasions. These changes strengthened the state, but they were enforced with brutal discipline and fear. Beneath all this unity lay pervasive terror. Qin Shi Huang adopted the harsh philosophy of legalism and demanded total obedience. In 213 BCE, he ordered the infamous burning of the books. Countless works of philosophy and history, anything not related to agriculture, medicine, or divination, were thrown into flames. Imagine being a scholar and watching your library burn. How would you feel if the emperor declared your books to be forbidden? The next year, according to traditional accounts, 460 scholars were rounded up and executed for holding forbidden ideas. Some modern historians note that these stories come from later Confucian writers and may have been exaggerated. Under Qin Shi Huang, even a whisper against the emperor could be lethal. Citizens were encouraged to inform on neighbors, and those accused of dissent often faced execution or mutilation. In short, his regime was one of total control and brutal repression. Qin Shi Huang also mobilized vast slave armies to build his empire. He ordered hundreds of thousands of conscripted laborers to forge roads and canals linking the country. Most famously, he extended and connected existing walls in the north into a single great wall stretching thousands of miles. According to historical sources, roughly 700,000 laborers were used on the wall, and many thousands of them died under the harsh conditions. Every stone laid was stained with human sacrifice, as builders died from disease, exhaustion, or execution. Above all else, however, the emperor obsessed over living forever. Believing he angered the gods by his deeds, he sent expeditions in search of magical elixirs of life and fountains of youth. When those failed, he turned to alchemy. Qin Shi Huang began swallowing mercury pills and other immortality potions. Ironically, mercury is highly poisonous, and historians today suspect that these elixirs helped bring on his death at age 49. In other words, the man who had moved mountains of men might have been undone by the very pills he hoped would make him a god. In 210 BCE, while touring his empire, Qin Shi Huang fell ill and died suddenly. His death was kept secret for months as a succession struggle quietly unfolded. But the iron will that had held China together was gone. Within a year, the country erupted in rebellion. Without the first emperor's coercive force, the vast Qin state could not hold itself intact. By 206 BCE, the Qin Dynasty had completely collapsed, its ruling family wiped out. A peasant leader soon founded the Han Dynasty, beginning a new era, yet all of imperial China would inherit the Qin centralized system. Qin Shi Huang's legacy is a complicated one. He did accomplish what no ruler before him had. China was united under one government, and a foundation was laid for a centralized empire. The measures he imposed, from a single script to an empire-wide bureaucracy, endured long after his death. But the cost was almost unimaginable. Traditional histories call him a monster who moved mountains of men to build his dreams. Even today, the Great Wall and the Terracotta Army evoke both awe and horror. Modern scholars point out that many ancient accounts of his brutality came from Confucian historians who despised his legalist rule. Perhaps the truth is both, an iron-willed visionary and a ruthless tyrant in one. When we see those thousands of silent clay warriors guarding his tomb, we face the dual legacy of Qin Shi Huang. He once boasted his dynasty would last 10,000 generations, but history taught a humbling lesson about the limits of power. If you had lived under his rule, would you remember him as a great unifier or as a merciless despot? Qin Shi Huang's story reminds us that history's heroes and villains often wear the same face. Yet even in death, Qin Shi Huang's desire for control did not fade. His mausoleum, buried beneath an artificial hill near modern Xi'an, remains one of the greatest archaeological mysteries of the ancient world. Zoted by thousands of life-sized terracotta warriors, each with unique facial expressions, armor, and weapons, his tomb was designed as an eternal empire mirroring the one he built in life. The emperor believed that even in the afterlife, he would rule as he had on earth, with soldiers, officials, and artisans serving his will. It is said that rivers of mercury were poured into the tomb to simulate flowing seas and protect him from evil spirits, a chilling echo of his fatal obsession with immortality. Today, Qin Shi Huang's empire lives on not only in ruins and relics, but in the very structure of China itself. The bureaucratic system he created became the model for 2,000 years of imperial rule. His vision of a united China survived dynastic changes, invasions, and revolutions, an idea of centralized order that still shapes the nation's identity. Yet his name also endures as a warning of how absolute power can consume even the greatest of minds. Modern historians continue to debate his true nature. Was Qin Shi Huang a tyrant blinded by paranoia, or a visionary reformer who laid the foundation of a civilization? Perhaps he was both, a man of contradictions whose brilliance and cruelty were inseparable. His life reminds us that every empire, no matter how mighty, is built on fragile human ambition. And in the silence of his underground army, we can still hear the echo of one man's quest to conquer not just a nation, but death itself. And the story of Qin Shi Huang doesn't end here. In the dust of history, every flame for freedom leaves its echo. If you've felt that fire too, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. And if you crave more tales like this, explore my other videos, for the secrets of the past are always waiting to be uncovered. This is the legacy of history, where the past still breathes and where freedom always finds a voice.